Hey guys, just really quickly before I play this clip, this is a highlight from the Anonymous Throwdown podcast. Be sure to go and subscribe to that channel if you enjoy content like this. It's run by myself, Slickmoff Salvage, and our friend Dustin. About 2 weeks ago, we had Evan Filarca on and we talked about Spider-Man and Avengers, and I had a lot of fun. And this is a clip from that. Now, I just really quickly want to say that Dustin, Evan, and myself, who were on this podcast that week, we're not particularly impressed by War Table for the Avengers game. We don't necessarily think that the game looks that great, but I just want to set the record very straight that we still have full respect for all the developers working on this game. These criticisms are not meant to be taken as attacks against the people who have worked very hard on this game. And all of us are still wanting to like the game. We're really hopeful that this game can kind of pull out a miracle and be really good. But as it is right now, just none of us were very impressed by it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the clip, but just once again, feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the Anonymous Throwdown podcast. I'll have this episode that this highlight is from linked in the description below. And if you enjoy the content, we release an episode every Sunday. So I look forward to seeing you there. And also make sure to like and subscribe to this channel as well. Thanks. We'll see you guys.
So disrespectful to their own game, because you're selling it as this is going to be incredibly brand new and unique that's never been done before for superheroes. Hell yes, let's go. That was my reaction in 2019. A year later, I still feel the exact same way I did a year ago.
The game was
the case. And in fact, I'm more cautious to what the final product will be, because the footage did not look like at all an entertaining game. It looked like a loot and shoot grind fest to get the best gear for Thor to dab with emo. I'm sorry, I'm not excited with what that's going to entail, especially if I see Black Panther flossing, bro. I'm not excited for that. If he gets added,
I've spent this whole last week.
What could happen just scares me, and that's why I feel cautious towards it.
This whole last week, I watched War Table, and it did absolutely nothing for me. And in fact, it made the thought that crossed my mind was, that's why they didn't show anything except A-Day. It's because A-Day is their best looking thing in this entire game. And no one thought that A-Day looked that good.
And it's the tutorial mission.
A-Day looks so boring. Okay, so when they were showing Arkham Asylum gameplay, or Arkham Knight gameplay, and Spider-Man gameplay, I was watching the entire thing. I was looking at it harder than I look at my Bible. I was studying this stuff. And with A-Day, when they released that full demo, and they, by the way, didn't even do that when they released the 8A trailer because they weren't confident enough in it yet. They're like, we have to polish this more. I remember someone saw it and was all like, it doesn't look polished. It looks kind of bad. And so then when they did show it, it looked fine, but I was kind of skipping through it. I was like, oh, so that's kind of how they play as. That's kind of how they play as. The thing is, this game should have been honest with themselves about what they are. They are not on the level of Spider-Man or Arkham Knight. They are not on that level. They needed to be honest. And I think if they had embraced the fact that this is just kind of a fun, older style game that takes elements from Anthem and stuff, and just really embrace that and been upfront about it, no, this isn't a big open world superhero game. This is more akin to, it's weird because honestly the closest thing I can think of is it's like Lego Batman 3. There's no open world. It's a bunch of hub worlds, which they don't explain, by the way.
No,
and that's the thing. Rather upon
that.
Whenever they have to downplay something, no, we don't have an open world. It's not like they give us a fun answer of so we didn't do an open world because we wanted to create hub worlds that each character would inhabit and be really good in. Rather than doing that, it's an awkward sorry, we couldn't quite do that, but we're trying to do the next best thing. It's almost like they're apologizing for themselves.
And they're they don't directly answer the question. Sorry, could you repeat that? Open world. Well, yeah. What do you mean by that specific? Well, we can free roam.
See, the worlds are open.
No, it's not open world. Even as someone who isn't working on the game, I can tell you, okay, let's think about it like this. If it's not open world, then that does mean that these hub worlds will encapsulate new and interesting environments within the Marvel universe, like that of Wakanda.
And that's what they should be pushing. They should be saying
Asgard, maybe. Then, oh, cool. You can go into space. You can go into underwater bases. That sounds interesting. But they don't elaborate upon that in any exciting way. They're you can look around and find treasure chests to unlock for new gear. Isn't that fun? No.
That's exactly it. Because if they worded it in the way of, no, we decided against doing a big open world so that we could make a bunch of variety and smaller open worlds, that'd be one thing. But my other issue with that is, even from what I've seen, the worlds don't look particularly detailed. Like, they don't look really like anything special. Like, they were showing some clips of what it looks like in New York, and it looks like a game from like 2014. It's like, that looks fine. And if they'd really pushed, like, the problem is they're trying to say it's going to be better than Arkham and Spider-Man, and yet their main selling point is an RPG leveling up system. Like, that is nothing new. And then, like, seeing the new gameplay with Thor, it looks so generic. Like, it looks, and the level design didn't really impress me in any way, and just everything about this game looks kind of off. The gameplay looks clunky, the animations look clunky, the level design looks clunky, and it's really hard because I'm sure that people have put a lot of time and effort, and it's one of those games that maybe looked really good on paper, but just the story isn't doing anything for me. I'm really struggling getting excited, and it's hard because I really want to get excited for this new AAA superhero game. I just can't, based on what it is.
It comes out in less than 3 months, by the way.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh man, it does?
Yeah, bro.
Yep.
With an online beta beforehand.
Oh man.
Able to play it earlier, a couple weeks ahead of time.
That reminds me of Fallout 76 when they announced the beta. That, and it happened like 2 weeks before the release of the game. That's not a beta, that's a demo. But I actually want to touch on something. So, marketing. Now, this game, it's probably 600 employees working at it's Crystal Dynamics in conjunction with, I think, Eidos.
5 to 6 studios. Let's break it down. Marvel Games, Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, Crystal Northwest, which is another studio they made just for this game, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix themselves. They said the entirety of Square Enix, by the way. And yet they still had to delay the game from May to September.
Well, I actually do have a theory for why they delayed it, and it's because I feel like this game is going to run really badly on a technical level, super badly on this current generation of consoles.
Yeah.
And I feel like this game would have been DOA if it came out in May, and they were like, oh, but we promise in like November or December, if you buy these $600 boxes, you'll get a free update that'll not actually be free. It'll cost you like $10, because they did the same thing with PS3 to PS4.
Right.
And they'll be like, see, now you can run at a stable 30 FPS at 1080p instead of 10 FPS at 400p. Like, none of this gameplay looked smooth, buttery, anything like that. But
no,
and there were frame rate dips.
Pass that off, saying, "Oh, it was the live stream messing up the footage." But if you look at the trailers themselves, upload in 4K, the lag is still there with the frame rate chopping up the gameplay footage.
When your own marketing, when your own trailer has like lag and doesn't run at a solid 30 FPS, that is awful. That's so bad.
And I get it. It is kind of an ambitious project. Like, we aren't discounting the work of these developers. The game is impressive on some aspects.
We can't do what they do. That's a given. But we
can
at least criticize for what it is, because we want it to be the best thing it can be. And based on what we've seen, it's just not doing it for me personally.
And we got to call out the marketing guys too, because like, back in like Arkham Knight, when that was getting teased and revealed, I remember the first like big trailer that they released was, Batman going to this warehouse. It's full gameplay. It shows like the stealth. You beat up some guys, goes underground, and he, stealth attacks Penguin, and he tags him. And then the video lags out, and it's like Scarecrow, and he's sitting in the chair, and he looks ominous as shit.
Looks awesome.
That gave me goosebumps when it happened.
Yeah,
that's a perfect trailer. If you show me one person who got goosebumps from War Table or fucking A-Day, I will give you $1,000. No one got goosebumps from either of those. People got goosebumps from the Spider-Man reveal trailer, even though I don't even think the marketing of that game was that great. It was okay, but I'd say it did nothing spectacular. This game is below average for this kind of game. This is very poor marketing. Sorry to cut you off.
But here's the thing: is if you're good. If they Because that actually feeds right into what I was going to say anyway, which is that if they owned that that's what this is, if they own that this is just a fun, entertaining 10-hour story with a lot of multiplayer content and really push for that, people would be so hyped and I would be way more excited. But instead they're trying to push like they barely said 2 things about multiplayer. And they're really pushing like this edgy single player story that brings in the Avengers Endgame aesthetics and has the writing arc. It has the story arc of Incredibles 2. Like it feels like they're really trying to push something that's ambitious, but it's through a product that really isn't that ambitious in my opinion.
Like the thing is, for me, knowing what we know of the story versus what kind of game it is, the reason why Destiny and Anthem works is very fun gameplay, but the actual missions and stuff they do in game has a real lore reason for existing, like the strikes or the raids or whatever. They make sense. You can't tell me, playing as the Avengers doing the same mission over and over and over and over again to, spec level up your character to a different degree. It's like the gameplay doesn't sound like it'll be able to draw 200 hours of playtime out of someone.
No.
You're only going to be able to kick MODOK's ass so much before it gets boring. Like, I love MODOK. Don't get me wrong. MODOK is great. Is he right to be the main antagonist of the first AAA Avengers game, where you're going to make him look like the bad guy from the Green Lantern Ryan Reynolds movie? No. Not at all.
Well, and I don't. It's so hard because I totally agree with that. It's like just such a wasted opportunity, and they really are. I mean, the villains are robots, and you look at something like Spider-Man or Batman. It's like not only, or even The Last of Us Part 2. They're not just showcasing combat. They're showcasing like, look, you can explore. Look at these graphics. It really pushes the technical advancement. You can attack either through stealth or through combat. You can upgrade this way, and it's showing a lot of variety and traversal and a lot of cool unique things that you can do, whereas with Avengers it's really a fighting game, but they're trying to make it sound like it has the same like capabilities that these other games have, but they're not pushing marketing for any other aspects outside of like just beat 'em up.